click the links to join the channel here over at SubScribestar, now over at Odyssey, various other links. Got a mailbox as well. You want to mail me a comic? Thanks to everyone. Thanks to the 2 new members over at SubScribestar and the new member over at Odyssey. So the tide is turning on woke. Yeah, it actually is a little bit. It's turning more than I expected. So I can admit that I didn't see some of this stuff coming, but I didn't see Trump getting elected. I knew the people, I mean, he got elected 3 times, don't get me wrong, but I thought they were going to, install. Isn't California still counting the votes? I thought they were going to install who they wanted to install, which is kind of weird. It's like he is a president that, like, he literally got elected 3 times, only is serving 2 terms. But anyway, I mean, I guess a lot of people looked at Biden and Kamala and were like, yeah, we just can't steal it this time. Can I say that on YouTube? Shit. So more people are speaking out against the anti-white Hollywood. But yeah, take a look at this image. I'll explain it in a second. But keep in mind, a lot of these girls, as I'll show you in a minute, are kind of on a pro-white bandwagon now. Like, who's that girl who was doing some cooking video and she dropped an N-bomb? And most of us are so jaded and suspicious, we're looking at that and we're like, yeah, that's totally organic. You do up all your makeup, pretty girl, does this video on social media. It's like, you drop an N-bomb, you know you're going to be fired from wherever you're doing. It's a lot suspicious, more than a little suspicious. Like, obviously, the burden of proof is shifted. She would have to prove that she wanted to be a social media star. She's like, I'm beautiful, tall, skinny, blonde. I'm under a certain age. I can get on this and I can set up this situation. All it takes is dropping one N-bomb and suddenly she's a thing. It's like, there's a few cases like that. And this girl, who we'll take a look at in a second, I don't know if she's that case. It's just, people see that the bandwagon is safe to jump on. It's still a little edgy, don't get me wrong. Like, you are going to get fired. But if you're getting fired from some whatever she's doing before, and she goes, okay, I was making $120 doing that before, but I can become a social media personality while I'm young enough to do it and, like, triple that income. And they can. I mean, if you're a good looking female and you're young enough, like, you should be doing social media. You'll be able to, buy your first home by the time you're you could do it as a teenager, like do the shoe on head kind of approach, and by the time you're 20, you'll buy a home. Anyway, so this image here, the voice actor they lighten. It's a bright image. I'm not saying they lighten the image up. It's just the gamma is turned up on it. It's just a very bright image with a lot of light. She's at some event, but the cartoon on the right is a little bit darker. The exposures don't match. And so for the thumbnail, I just did a little Photoshop myself. So the thing is with this chick, I don't know if she's a grifter or not. You should be, anytime you see anything on the internet, assume everyone is a grifter, lying for money or for some kind of globalist ideology. It really doesn't apply to the further right because we're over target. We're the ones who get debanked, get kicked off of Coffee, Patreon, all the other payment processors, kicked out of YouTube and the mainstream kind of stuff. So when you're over target, like that adage is, I know I use the phrase "the left thinks they're raging against the machine." It's just it's just so funny because there was the band from the 90s, and they thought they were fist in the air. They thought they were so badass, and they were speaking truth to power. And then 30 years later, you guys were working with the FBI to track down people who actually went to J6 and peacefully protested and did speak truth to power. Oh yeah, it's a little weird. Anyway. Assume everything is fake until proven lighthearted and frivolous. So here, the girl here who is going after some race swapping in this cartoon. If I play it again, will it play? We won't play full screen. How do I make it full screen? Hold on one sec. So this chick is going on the race swapping issue, which it definitely should not be race swapped. But it's kind of an interesting example because people will follow the money. I mean, this like social media creators, even though I hate that word. And all of this depends on what the platforms allow. So she's not even on YouTube. She just has a Rumble channel and all kinds of. I don't think she has an OnlyFans. I don't know if she's that bad, but you get what I'm saying. You should be very suspicious of good-looking people who are kind of jumping on band. I mean, Lana Locktiff was doing this stuff for the past 20 years, you know what I mean? Anyway, so you have a Proud Mutual on Twitter. You have a blonde blonde-haired, blue-eyed Viking character. That should at least be played by a European if you want to play these identity politics games as the left. Like, the left does a lot of things. They turn their windmills into actual real dragons. So, a northern actor would be better for the voice actor, and there's obviously no shortage of actors for the role. Because people just don't want a black actor in the role. Not that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they wouldn't have cared, but because of this game they're playing, it's like now you have to care, you have to pretend to care, which is the case for a lot of this kind of stuff. Because it's a voice actor. Like, does it really matter if the voice actor is black or blonde or sounds... I mean, it doesn't matter as long as it goes either way, but either it all matters or it doesn't matter. And since the left says racial representation matters, then she needs to be European, because Hollywood is marginalizing and oppressing European people. And you especially see it with Scandinavians and followers of Norse mythology. I mean, you saw in the Disney Marvel movies where they're in Valhalla. It's, European, Scandinavian, I think. And so you've got, like, people who are not going to be in Valhalla, sub-Saharans, and she's a Valkyrie, but would you do that to any other religion? What's the Wakanda one, where they in the comic book, Shuri goes and visits the ancestors left and right. It's like, how come you didn't race swap the ancestors? Like, oh, that's just absurd. Well, Norse mythology is actually still practiced today. If anything, it's a growing religion. So how come you felt comfortable race swapping those characters? It's like they don't have an answer for it, because the answer is just F you. So people are finally accepting that anti-white hatred is racism. And where the rubber meets the road is that this woke stuff is not selling. So we're not just screaming into the abyss here. Woke keeps losing money. It's been losing money pretty hardcore for 10 years, and it's just accelerated under Biden. And clearly, these Hollywood vermin hate people of European descent. I mean, a lot of people are kind of catching on to that, and I think it's going to reach a critical mass. And what happens then, who knows? Maybe people just check out of Hollywood, and an alternative Hollywood starts up. And no, not from the Daily Wire's cringe version of movies. Let me guess, Daily Wire, the bad guys in that Western with Gina Carano, let me guess, are they Indians? Mexicans? Blacks? No, they're going to be blonde and red-haired, of course. I haven't even seen the movie, guys. That's how good the predictions are. All we have to do is not buy the movies or the games, and Hollywood has, and even a lot of other people in these comments are talking about comics, because nobody's buying comics anymore because they're so freaking lame. And Hollywood has been reflecting that people are not paying for this stuff. Now, the weird thing is, people are talking about actors doing Shakespeare, non-Euro actors, and that they shouldn't do it. It's ridiculous if they're not the right race. And here I will make an exception, because actors grow up on Shakespeare. It's a little bit different. It's not fair to tell somebody that they studied acting their whole life and they can't play a Scottish king just because they're Asian or black or something. It's like Shakespeare is a part of what actors do. And everything kind of boils down to the audience. Do they accept it or not? And that's for anything you can do, but the audience has not been accepting this, and the only thing Hollywood and their defenders here at the Mary Sue can do is call you Islamophobic. But that doesn't mean anything. It's like I'm trying to do videos on Odyssey about that concept, because it's not a real word. It's a manipulative technique word, and I know it's a recent word. That was created to control people with this Pavlovian fear-based response about just labeling you something. But that's pretty much almost totally worn off, because they've just overused it to call everybody this. Anyway, so everything boils down to the audience. Are they going to pay the $18 for a movie or not? And a lot of this depends on how cool the character is. Like Lando Calrissian wasn't a swap or anything. It was an original IP. But he was, I forget the actor's name. He was a very cool character playing a cool role, and people bought it. But for most roles, race matters. I mean, either it matters or it doesn't matter, but it has to be treated fairly. And the left wing are lying when they say it doesn't matter. If it didn't matter, they wouldn't race swap the characters. White liberals have an outgroup preference. They see race, they know it matters, because if it didn't matter to them, they would have a neutral or no group preference. But they specifically are outgroup focused, so they're lying. They're virtue signaling. That's what virtue signaling is. It's saying one thing and doing something else because you don't believe what you're saying. Well, we're just being honest. Yes, we have in-group preferences. That shouldn't be shocking because every group has in-group preferences except the white, cucked, liberal soy people. The left, and the thing is, what are their true preferences? I don't know, but their surface level virtue signaling preferences are for the out-group. But like if under stress and under dangerous conditions you see people's true core, and what the left-wing true core is, I don't know yet. The left wing has a lot of hypocritical arguments, very shallow, illogical arguments where race is important to them and it matters very much as long as it's not European, which is nonsense. We know that we are correct. The left wing is gaslighting us when they say that we don't matter, but they do, their ethnicity or their tribalism. On the face of it, it's illogical. And once you accept that these people have been the racists the whole time, everything fits into place. They're the problem. They always have been. We're awesome. If it's acceptable to be pro-Asian, black, Latin, whatever, it has to be acceptable to be pro-European or colloquially speaking, white. And it is. And usually, the thing is, other, like, outsiders to your group don't get to identify you or control your identity, just as you couldn't tell them what their identity is. And it's funny, like, the left feels so comfortable trying to control your identity. It's like, aren't you the guys that insist on that men can be women or something? And, I've been enjoying trolling them with this stuff. It drives them nuts when we use Norse pagan symbology. For some reason, that really bothers them. And they try to, Satire just drives them insane. And they try to lecture us on whatever hippy-dippy globalist nonsense. But who cares what a bunch of soy boy pussies think about anything? And it's the fat socialist syndrome. In a better world, this wouldn't be an issue. And a voice actor could just play any role as long as the voice fit the role. And I'll admit that you could probably do that across racial lines. It just wouldn't matter because it's a voice actor. As long as it was done fairly. But we don't live in that world. Hollywood is not fair. It's very firmly anti-white. The race swapping is usually only going one way because Hollywood's controlled by these lizard people from beyond time and space. And, this is tiresome, and I'm not the only one who's getting tired of anti-white Hollywood. And as a consequence, instead of constantly fighting these arguments on social media, people are just dropping out of the mainstream and they're going to alt media, and the numbers very firmly reflect that. All these mainstream platforms in these movies, on average, are losing a serious amount of money that even Larry Fink at BlackRock has to pay attention to. And even, for example, a channel like this is one of the smallest possible channels, the smallest possible social media footprint. And this channel got over 10,000 hours, and there are tens of thousands of channels this size, and most are much larger, and those hours add up. It's 10,000 hours that didn't go to globalist mainstream Moloch-worshipping media where the executives vacation up in on those islands off the coast of Florida and up in oh God, what's that? The Redwoods up in Sonoma. They have that thing. I think Alex Jones snuck in there or something. I mean, Alex Jones used to do really cool stuff about 25 years ago, and then I don't know if he got trapped in a golden cage or something because InfoWars was worth billions of dollars. Hey, you can find him on Alex Jones Network on Rumble and Twitter, and it's amazing when you think about it. And the mainstream does think about all these alternative media sources: ADL, SPLC, ACLU, GPAF, global extremism. There's all these shadowy funded sites that all have commonalities in that they very much have this incandescent genocidal hatred for people of European descent, especially people of the fairer the eyes and the skin, the hair, blonde hair and blue eyes. These people, they want them gone. And you see it reflected in Hollywood by erasing, like the most rarest trait is red hair. And that's like the peak of in their minds, the straw man hierarchy of like, what is it, Ubermensch? Something like that. And like most people just don't think of that. You don't think red-haired people and blonde-haired people or blue eyes or green eyes are are better than other. You're listening to this like, yes, they are. I mean, most people just don't think that way. We just don't care that way. But you see Hollywood erasing these people and you go, oh, in your minds, these are like gods to you and you hate these gods. Anyway, the mainstream hates that alternative media exists. You heard, was it MSNBC, the husband and wife team, where they say that we're the ones who disseminate the truth. We're the ones who should be in control of the media. And like what a reckoning the mainstream media has had, where they fired a lot of people. And then oddly enough, they hired a couple of them back. I don't think Cumio came back, but Brian Selter came back for some reason. But who's the black guy? The gay black guy. The other gay black guy. I think there's a bunch of them on CNN got fired, and he's not coming back. I think he just left Twitter. He's probably crying over at Blue Sky. I just joined Blue Sky, too, because it is a, I think I'm, I don't remember the name. Yeah, it's such a left-wing echo chamber. These people are absolutely insane. And the thing is, they want the news to come from them. And if you disagree, they'll send Nina Jankowicz after you with the Ministry of Truth. And the funny thing about her, I did a little background, little deep dive into her. I mean, what a glow up she looks like. You watch her, what she's been doing for the past 20 years, and she's been doing like TikTok videos. But like, there's some kind of, some kind of agency that's keeping an eye on her and going, oh, we can use this chick. And like, oh, we'll just get in place her in the Ministry of Truth. Weird. But she, after that got crushed, she went and started in quotes, because somebody started the Sunlight Foundation, funded by, I'll let you guess who is funding that organization. It's the same people who are funding Antifa and BLM and renting the vans and the materials and supplying all this stuff. These people are terrified of free speech. That's their number one. That's why they normalized, or someone in the comments yesterday said hyper normalization. These concepts of malinformation, disinformation, misinformation, and presumably the next part of that is, well, they will decide what is misinformation. That's what Nina Jankowicz was for. In a country that has the First Amendment. And, why other countries don't also have the First Amendment is, hey, Europe, it's time you guys get that and the second and the fourth and the fifth and the eighth and the 10th. Anyway, like quartering soldiers probably doesn't come up too often. So these people will use these shadowy globalist dummy accounts to fund these toxic left extremist anti-white hate groups. Because all those groups I mentioned, ADL, SPLC, ACLU, and there are thousands more, they're the best funded groups on earth. They have almost infinite money to do with as they please to push this narrative. And it's amazing that we're able to get on Odyssey, BitChute, and a bunch of other platforms with, the cheapest of cheap equipment and counter their narrative. It's meme magic. The left wing can't meme. And the right can. It's a power that we have. Anyway, Vikings are not black. And if you want diversity, tell a pirate story, because they picked up people. I mean, they press ganged people from everywhere. They had blacks and Portuguese and a bunch of other people. And I was reading H.G. Wells and Jules Verne and Conan Doyle and whatnot. And you read these old stories, and it is hysterical. What the English would say about the Portuguese. And they considered, I don't know if I got to be careful here, they considered Spain kind of the Mexico of Europe. And Portugal was like the Guatemala. So just in there, I insulted Mexico, Spain, Portugal, and Guatemala. Sorry, folks. But back then, people were just really blunt. I mean, especially the English who probably a lot of them actually did think they were the Ubermensch. Political correctness just didn't exist back then. And to them, the Arabs, blacks, and Portuguese were basically the same group of people. They did not have nice things to say about them and a couple other groups. I can't even mention it. Jules Verne had a book, Off on a Comet. If you read it, you know what I mean. Apologies to Ibe Canales, who is my favorite artist. Which reminds me, I got to go to the mailbox. I got to mail away Iron Sights to a listener who I was talking to who didn't read some of these early Comicsgate books. And in Savage Kill All Men, by Chuck Dixon. Those were my favorites, and I'm mailing away a bunch of comics to people who just didn't get a hold of those comics, and I hate to give them away, but I guess I can't keep things forever. Anyway, F Hollywood and the idiots at the Mary Sue. And with Trump getting elected, I have to admit that there's a different vibe in the air that I didn't expect. I've been off base on the Trump effect. I just didn't, because I look at him and I just see a moderate, vaguely left-wing kind of guy. I mean, for a couple of years ago, he would be like, he's like him, and if you listen to what Hillary Clinton was saying in the 90s, or Obama or Sanders or a bunch of these other people with D's after their name, they're further right than any Republican is today. And they're looking at Trump as if he's some far right guy. Look at him, go like, oh, he's, a slightly left of center, milquetoast moderate. But the left is looking at him like, he's got dragon wings and a short mustache type of thing. It's absurd the way they look at this guy. And they're like, so are there any facts upon which you reach this conclusion? And it's all just an emotional based argument. The media told me. The media lies to you, and the government lies to you. And pharmaceutical companies definitely lie to you. There's the greatest wealth transfer in history. Oh, no. They have our best interests at heart. No, they don't. It's crazy that you would think that. I can honestly look at both sides and say, hey, they're both scumbags. Both sides. It's wings of the same bird. People have been saying that for decades when I was much, much younger. And I just kind of struggled to wrap my head around that. And as I got older, I finally accepted it. I go, oh, yeah, both sides are scumbags. The left wing doesn't care about the left wing. Right wing doesn't care about the right wing. They care about their pocketbooks and sometimes pushing some ideology. Anyway, I didn't expect this kind of weird vibe in the air where they think the country's going further right wing than it is. It's not. There's no way. I wish it would. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely wish it would. But Hollywood thinks that something is going on, that they think there's going to be some kind of right wing bounce back or something. But they're also tied into the financial markets, and they seem to be expecting a turning away from the woke, where they're trying to it seems like there's stuff in the wind about adjusting to this new market dynamic. But I don't quite understand, because even if it would have been a disaster for them if Kamala got elected, they would have thought like, oh, okay, finally the country's on board with the left wing woke stuff. We'll double down, and Hollywood and this will just catch up with it. If they did that, they would have bombed faster, because who got elected and people's turning away from woke are not as tightly correlated as I think Hollywood seems to think. But I mean, I assume that they know they have access to trillions of dollars. They have better research than I do. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Yes, I will go to the post office today. Oh, I hate to give things away, but I'm so parsimonious. And I will see you guys all next episode.